Before fridges were invented, ice was expensive stuff that only the very rich could afford. In Britain, it was cut from frozen lakes in winter and kept cool in underground ice houses until summer. In Roman times, Emperor Nero ordered slaves to collect ice from mountaintops. They travelled miles in high-speed chariots simply to cool his favourite drink.
I'll have 2 more.
Dangerous jobs that were once an everyday reality, but some were so perilous they disappeared entirely. Have you ever wondered what it was like to work with toxic radium paint or face explosives without modern robotics? From the deadly radium painters to the ice cutters braving freezing waters, here are 8 extremely hazardous jobs that are gone forever. And stick around for more terrifying occupations you won't believe existed. Radium painter.
Most of her teeth have fallen out. The skin on her face peels off, she grabs her aching jaw one night, and it breaks in her hands, and 2 weeks later, she's dead. Welcome to one of America's worst nightmares.
Marie Curie discovered radium in 1898. In the early 20th century, workers called radium girls used radium-based paint to make watch dials, clocks, and aircraft instruments glow in the dark. This work was extremely dangerous because the workers were exposed to high levels of radiation. To make the paintbrushes precise, they were told to use their lips to create a fine point, which caused them to swallow radium. This led to severe health issues such as anemia, bone fractures, and cancers in the jaw, a condition that became known as radium jaw. The suffering of these workers highlighted the dangers of radium and brought major changes to workplace safety. They fought legal battles that raised awareness of the risks and pressured industries to protect workers. By the middle of the 20th century, safer materials and stricter safety rules had replaced the use of radium paint. The hazardous practices of the past were replaced with modern, luminescent materials that are non-toxic and do not pose health risks. The story of the Radium Girls is a reminder of the sacrifices made to improve workplace conditions and ensure better safety standards for future generations. Coal miner.
When we trace the history of coal mining back from when it was first brought out of the earth until today, a lot of people had to give their lives to pave the way for energy generation.
Coal mining used to be one of the most dangerous jobs in history, especially before the introduction of modern safety rules and advanced technology. Miners worked deep below the ground in tunnels that were poorly ventilated, dark, and very tight. They faced serious risks such as cave-ins, explosions from gas buildup, and long-term health problems like black lung disease caused by breathing in coal dust. The work required intense physical effort, with miners cutting coal by hand, using pickaxes or shovels, and moving it out on carts. Without modern safety equipment, the working conditions were extremely hazardous, leading to many injuries and deaths. Today, while coal mining still happens, the most dangerous manual methods have been replaced in many parts of the world by machines and regulated systems. In areas where traditional mining still occurs, there is a greater emphasis on worker safety and reducing health risks. Improvements in equipment and stricter regulations have made mining less deadly, although it remains a physically demanding job in some regions. X-ray technician.
The 1,500-pound apparatus, which uses standard film like this, is capable of photographing 100 chests an hour. Subject stands with head up tilted on a chin rest, chest flat against a polished square plate, takes a deep breath and holds it for 2 seconds.
In the early days of X-ray technology, technicians worked with minimal protection and little understanding of radiation's harmful effects. Discovered by Willem Conrad Röntgen in 1895, X-rays quickly revolutionized medicine. But the risks associated with radiation exposure were largely unknown. Early technicians operated machines without protective gear or shielding, leading to severe health issues such as burns, cancer, and other radiation-induced illnesses. Many technicians experienced these problems due to prolonged exposure to high levels of radiation, as safety protocols had not yet been established. The lack of safety measures stemmed from the newness of technology and the excitement about its potential for diagnosing and treating medical conditions. By the early 20th century, the medical community began recognizing the dangers of radiation exposure. This understanding led to the creation of safety measures, including the use of lead aprons, shields, and improved machine designs to protect technicians and patients. Today, radiologic technologists undergo extensive training in safety procedures and use advanced equipment to minimize radiation risks while ensuring effective medical imaging. Ice cutter.
In the 19th century, millions of people around the world got their ice from here, Fresh Pond, a kettle hole lake. But 200 years ago, it was the center of a burgeoning ice industry.
Ice cutters worked on frozen lakes and rivers, using hand tools such as saws and chisels to carve out large blocks of ice for refrigeration before modern cooling systems were invented. This job required immense physical effort and came with serious dangers, including the risk of falling into icy water and suffering from frostbite or hypothermia due to prolonged exposure to freezing temperatures. During the 19th and early 20th centuries, ice cutting was an important industry, particularly in colder regions like North America and Scandinavia. Workers waited until the ice reached about 12 inches in thickness before heading onto frozen surfaces. They carefully measured and cut the ice into heavy blocks, which could weigh hundreds of pounds, and transported them to ice houses for storage. These ice blocks were essential for preserving food and other perishables, making ice cutting a critical part of daily life. Despite its necessity, the job's hazards and grueling conditions left many workers injured. With the development of modern refrigeration, this dangerous occupation became obsolete. And if you think ice cutting was intense, wait until you hear about the other jobs where danger is just part of the job description. Asbestos removal worker.
Put all waste materials into leak-proof heavy plastic bags or similar impermeable containers. To seal each bag, twist closed, tape, fold over, and tape again.
Asbestos was widely used in building materials until it was discovered to pose serious health risks, including lung cancer and mesothelioma. Removing asbestos was a hazardous job because the tiny fibers could easily be inhaled, causing severe diseases. Workers frequently face significant health problems from exposure to these fibers, which could lead to asbestosis, a chronic lung disease, and various forms of cancer. In the past, asbestos removal was even more dangerous due to the lack of protective equipment and proper safety guidelines. Handling materials containing asbestos often release harmful fibers into the air, increasing the risk of inhalation. Today, the process is much safer due to strict regulations and advancements in safety measures. Specialized companies now handle asbestos removal using advanced tools and protective clothing designed to reduce exposure. Workers receive detailed training to safely manage materials containing asbestos, ensuring the fibers remain contained and do not become airborne. These improvements have made the job less hazardous, and fewer individuals now face the dangers associated with asbestos removal. Bomb disposal technician.
Yes, I've seen this type before. Got to be very careful.
Looks like we may be here for the duration, sir.
Yes.
In the 1980s, bomb disposal technicians faced extreme risks because they lacked advanced tools like robots for handling explosives. These brave individuals had to manually defuse bombs using basic tools and their own skills. The job was very dangerous, as any mistake could cause a deadly explosion. Technicians would approach suspicious devices, sometimes wearing simple protective gear, and try to disarm them by hand. This required not only technical knowledge, but also great courage and steady nerves. The dangers were made worse by the fact that many bombs were designed with anti-handling features to prevent technicians from disarming them. As of now, bomb disposal has greatly improved with modern technology. Robots equipped with cameras and mechanical arms can now handle and disarm explosives from a safe distance. Remote detonation methods allow bombs to be exploded safely without putting lives at risk. In addition, advanced bomb disposal suits offer much better protection against blasts, making the job safer for technicians. These developments have transformed bomb disposal into a much less dangerous profession than it was decades ago. Matchstick maker.
In its industrial heyday, it was a rather grim place to work. Its female workers forced to stand on their feet or drop in matchsticks, and according to myth, the docking of their wages to erect a statue to Prime Minister.
In the 19th and early 20th centuries, matchstick makers worked with white phosphorus, a dangerous substance that helped matches ignite easily. This job was extremely risky because it caused a condition called phossy jaw, a painful illness from exposure to phosphorus. Phossy jaw, or phosphorus necrosis of the jaw, caused swelling, abscesses, and the gradual decay of the jawbone. Workers, mostly young women and girls, spent long hours in factories with poor ventilation, breathing in toxic fumes. The early symptoms of phossy jaw included toothaches and swollen gums, which could eventually lead to severe facial deformities and even death if untreated. Despite these serious dangers, many workers had no choice but to continue working due to financial pressures. The suffering of these workers caught the attention of activists like Annie Besant, who spoke out about their poor working conditions. This sparked public outrage and led to changes in the law. By the early 20th century, safer alternatives to white phosphorus like red phosphorus were used, and new factory regulations were put in place, effectively ending the dangerous practice of making matches with white phosphorus. Whaler,
from which ships set out towards the Antarctic seas in search of whales. This is a typical small whaler, the Steenberg. She is a vessel of about 100 tons, well out to sea now. The Steenberg is kept on a southwesterly course by the man at the wheel.
Whaling was a dangerous job, with crews facing tough sea conditions and the constant danger of being hit by huge whales. In the 1800s, whalers went out into the open ocean in small boats, using harpoons to hunt these giant animals. The process was risky because after being harpooned, whales would thrash around wildly, damaging the boats and sometimes injuring or even killing the crew members. The rough weather at sea added to the danger. Whalers dealt with storms, freezing cold, and the risk of their ships being damaged or sinking. Despite these risks, whale oil was very valuable for lighting lamps and making soap, so whaling became a profitable yet deadly job. As time passed, the harm caused to whale populations became clear, which led to efforts to protect them, including bans on commercial whaling. As a result, traditional whaling became nearly extinct. Today, whaling is strictly regulated, and most countries have stopped commercial whaling altogether. This change in law has significantly reduced whaling across the globe. While these hazardous jobs are now part of history, they remind us of the risks workers face to build the modern world. Which of these jobs surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating insights into history and innovation.
Twin processes of radiography and photography are thus linked together. The negative is developed in the ordinary way, and the radio images of the contents of the chest projected onto a screen in a darkened room.